financing. All right, cash, if it's cash. Now, if it's cash, there's no contingencies. It says it right there, this is cash, no contingencies, right? You can have inspection, but there's no financing contingencies. So financing contingencies are typically appraisal. But there's no contingencies, not even your insurance. So we got to be very careful with this. If it's a cash transaction, you want to have proof of funds. So when I present this offer, I'm also presenting proof of funds because I'm showing the other agent who's going to show the seller, these people have $1 gazillion in a bank account and they can afford it. Right? So I need proof of funds. It should be from a bank or wherever the money is, but it would have to be in the buyer in their name. So if let's say the cash was sitting in a 401k, that's not cash. If it's my boss buying it for me because he's giving me the cash, that's not cash. It's not in my name. Cash would have to be in my name.
Liquid cash in the person.
Liquid in a financial institution in the United States. If it's not in the United States, it's another. It's not cash.
How many months does it have to be in there?
I don't care.
It can be a day, like you get a cash to afford.
I don't care.
Oh.
Not my problem. The only time it has to be seasoned is if there's a lender involved. The lender wants
There
to
it is,
see
okay.
it seasoned.
Gotcha.
But if you just brought a bucket of cash in from someplace, I'm good.
But you wouldn't need a lender.
Right, that's right. I just have to make sure it's in a bank.
So assets
Right.
don't count. Do houses or other assets count as,
No, because you've got to pull the cash out.
it's gotta be liquid?
So it's gotta be looked. Yeah, probably. The other thing about cash is hard money is not cash. It's somebody else's cash, but it's not my cash. So hard money is not considered cash. People always say, oh, but I'm getting the money. Look, I don't care.
You bought it.
Not yours. You know, I've had that happen in Miami. They took a picture of cash and sent me a picture.
So
That's not cash.
401k under the name of buyer.
It's a type of loan. Now you have to cash it out, right?
Yeah.
You gotta cash it out.
Oh, I did a deal like that and it was cash.
I wouldn't.
Oh.
Yeah, sometimes you don't qualify. If it's
To get
already,
it out of the 401k.
sometimes you don't qualify. So I would make it other. And I would put 401k.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because once they see what their tax implication is, they're like, oh, no, we're not touching that. This is 20%. Right? So
Yeah.
higher risk. Yeah, they're like, oh, no, we're not, because then they have sticker shock. So I need a way to get them out. That's why I would. If I can't get them out, there's no contingencies here. It's not if the 401k, no. If I do this, I'm losing my, if I do this, if I put cash and it's 401k
It's not cash.
and I put how much was my deposit? 25,000 on this?
Mhm.
I would lose my deposit. There's no contingencies.
Right, in my case, I did a 401k cash with cash from the seller, the selling of the property.
Yeah, I would not, I could lose the deposit from my buyer, so I've got to be safe.
Yeah.
It might look attractive, but remember, the more I put on page one, like if I had to put, let's say, 100,000 here, and I give you 100,000, I'm like, oh, it's 401k, it's cash. I could lose the whole 100,000. Right? Because now I'm like, oh, they backed out because the taxes were 20%. Oh, fine, back out. I'm keeping your money. That's why we can't make this too high. Because if for any reason this doesn't happen, like 401k, but it says no contingencies, they could keep that
But
money.
the only way something will not happen is that if buyers do not want to.
The stock market could crash.
Oh,
401k is stock market. I need to protect them. I need to protect my buyer, right? Because couldn't something happen to that 401k? God, it's disappeared overnight before,
Everybody needs to get this.
right? It was gone. What if it's cryptocurrency? Gone. I would make those other, just to protect my buyer's deposit, I need to be able to back. Now, I only have a couple of days to back out, so I gotta be careful.
So if you're doing, let's say, 50% from the 41K.
Okay, well, it's still other. It's 50% upfront cash to close, but the rest is still other, right? I'm not losing my, I'm on the buy side right now, right? Because I'm writing the offer. I need to make it solid, so yeah, 50% is great, that's nice and solid, but I'm not gonna make it cash.
Sure.
So when you check the other, you're gonna check the B, not A.
Right, I'm gonna uncheck it. So I would have put this and other, and here put 401K. Because it is the other.
If you're doing the conventional, you're not gonna check that.
Okay, I didn't get to this yet. She's just talking 401K because she thinks it's cash and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're gonna make it finance. Now, also with financing, write yourself a note. Whether or not the seller wants an appraisal so that they can back out. So you'll have to, so if it is cash, ask your seller, write yourself a note. If cash, ask seller, do they need an appraisal or do they want an appraisal? Because if it doesn't appraise, they could back out. Now, whether or not they will or not, it just gives me something extra to back out on.
It will be the only one.
Yeah. So it kind of gives me a little cushion. Like, if it doesn't appraise, we can still back out. Because cash is cash, like, there's no other way to back out. It says no financing. So if it's cash, I always ask if they want an appraisal. It's just extra protection. And the other thing I always ask at the same time is, do you need to get a survey? Now, if it's a condo, so if condo, no survey. Condos don't have land, you don't need a survey. But if it's cash, do you want an appraisal contingency, just so we have a protection? And do you need to get a survey? Because it's cheaper to order the survey now for closing than it is afterwards. And surveys are great if they're gonna build a pool or they're, it's like,
Yeah.
you want the
Say
survey.
that one more time, Chief.
Surveys are cheaper when you're closing than it is for them to go out and get it afterwards.
What the average cost?
600-700. Yeah,
And for appraisal.
500.
So you said you asked the seller if they wanted an appraisal?
I'm sorry,
or
the
the buyer?
The buyer, sorry, the buyer.
Yeah.
If it's cash, I ask the buyer. I'm sorry. The buyer.
And then what would you? put?
So in what scenario would you suggest the survey to?
Well, if it's finance, the bank orders one because they want to make sure that the land is safe, right? Because they're giving you a loan on the land. So they'll always order a survey. But if it's cash, I have to ask because nobody's gonna order it. And what was your question?
That will go under additional terms if you were to,
The survey?
survey.
Yeah. Well, it's not a contingency. That's just a courtesy. It's not a contingency. The appraisal is a contingency and that goes on the last page. But the survey is just, I'm just gonna do it so that when I talk to the title company, oh, they need a survey. The title company orders the survey. Yeah. So it's not a condition of the contract, it's a courtesy. Okay, let's go into financing. This contract is contingent upon if left blank in 30 days. So my close date is important here. I put a close date of April 22nd. Okay, so 30 days from the 19th would probably take me to the 19th. And I put a close date of the 22nd. That's too tight. Remember I said 7 days. So I'm gonna have to change this to 29.
But it's
It's okay. I'm okay. I really don't have a choice here.
April.
Oh, yeah, oh, maybe it's not a Friday. Let's try this. Maybe it's not a Friday. Sometimes this comes up and sometimes it doesn't.
And why are we changing the date again?
It's too tight. Like you might lose a deposit. This will take time to get funds.
Yeah.
You're getting there.
Oh, my
You can
God.
move your bond.
Okay, this is my problem. The green one. Alright, so. No. Black bar.
The black.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I want one in April. I had, 20,
Oh, I see.
let's see, 19 to 19 is 28 days. 29, 30. I think I'll go to the 25th. Okay,
So you would generally consider so in the week?
yes, it's calendar days. Yeah, calendar days.
So you changed the date because you need the bumper.
I need a bumper. Because in the event the commitment doesn't come through, I still need 3 days for clear to close. So I need a little bumper there. I don't want it to be clear to close today. And we said we were gonna close today. It's not gonna happen. Right now, I have to ask for extensions because I made everything the same day. Can't do that.
Yeah.
Right? So I need a little bumper in between it, because I need 3 days clear to close. So I just needed the extra 2 or 3 days in the event we need an extension or something.
So we're doing 35 days.
So I like it 5 to 7 days. It doesn't have to be 7, 5 to 7 days. Difference
After the
between whatever I put here, if left blank 30. Now I can change this. Like if the financing's already in place or it's conventional, I can make this 21 days. But the only person who can give you this answer is the lender.
Yeah.
Only the lender can tell you how quickly they can get a, what's it called? Contract, loan approval period. So only the lender can tell you when they can deliver loan approval. Some people can do it in 15, then I'm only worried about HOA. So you just have to put all the pieces together.
So that's one of the questions we definitely ask when we talk to. After the
That's a lender question.
After the pre-approval for that client, like, hey, how can we close?
Yes, how much time do you need to close it? Like 21 days, 28 days? I don't care, just tell me, because that's what I'm gonna put on here.
Plus-
And then my closing is 5 to 7 days late. Does that make sense?
If they're confident in, that's what they could.
Yeah, I always add a day on, I don't believe lenders.
Okay.
And we know Easter's in here someplace, so add 1 or 2 days. There's a holiday every month, so just add it, if they say 21 days. Just have a night, I need, 3, 4, 5 day cushion. Because clear to close is a 3-day gap, so I need that. Make sense? Okay, and I want you to be, so I write contracts so that I don't even know. If it's really- Anyway,
This stuff, sure.
You gotta click recording.
I did.
That's the black one.
Is this?
Yes,
Yeah.
recording.
I'm
This
recording.
recording.
Yeah, it's a stop shares. I mean,
Share, no, I'm not stopping the share.
No.
Share is good. Share, they're looking at the screen, not me.
yeah,
They can see me, but they're looking at it. Okay. Wonder if we can edit that. I write contracts. How do I say this? I don't want my buyer to weasel out.
To what?
You don't want to do that.
I don't want my buyer to weasel out.
Oh, yeah.
If I put something in here, like if I put in here, buyer obtains approval of FHA or VA or conventional, whichever one I put and they get the other, it gives them a way to back out. So I gotta be very careful.
Wait, can you repeat that?
So. All right, so like if they're being approved for FHA, I'll put FHA. I'm okay with that, but here's where we can weasel out. Check 1, fixed, adjustable, or fixed or adjustable. If I put fixed and they get adjustable, they can back out. If I put adjustable and they get fixed, they can back out. So what do I put? Fixed or adjustable. So I don't care which one you get. Right? Don't care. You're not backing out on me. Whatever I get, if I make something so finite that they can back out of it, I've given them a way to back. I'm not saying I don't want them to back out, it's that, hey, we're writing an offer
Yeah.
because you wanted this house. Not because you wanted to back out.
So,
Okay, I had a question. Like in, that line where you check FHA order and you put 4
Well, that was our
So you
conversation.
can only put one or the
Yeah,
other.
Yeah, it's only one.
Okay, so.
Now, well, it could be more than one. I could have seller financing for the down payment, so I could put PMM in here. The PMM is seller financing. So let's say it was conventional, 80% conventional, 10% down and 10% seller financing. I would put conventional other PMM. Because it's 2 promissory notes.
Yeah.
Purchase money mortgage is seller financing. Rec 1.
I had like, for example, if you have there we have conventional, if you have physician financing, how you do that?
That's another. Definitely another.
How? what you
Anything
gonna
that's
put?
not this is other.
So what you gonna put? Just
Physician financing, whatever it is,
physician
whatever.
financing.
There's some kind of special deal,
Um,
special loan?
yeah, they have, he's a doctor, so he gonna get that loan. I don't know, hospital, what they have that
Just put it in there for the physician financing.
physician.
But I'm pretty sure it's still gonna be conventional or FHA.
Conventional,
Yeah, it's just where the money's coming from. So it could be Bank of America physician financing, but it's still FHA. So then you don't have to worry about it.
When you have the option fixed or adjusted, why would you somebody check fixed? Well, yeah, when you have options like this. It's like in
No.
those.
Why do you do that?
Give us some guidance.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Somebody-
I don't-
We can just use it back out.
It gives them a way to back up.
Yeah.
You told me I was gonna get fixed. I'm sorry, you don't qualify. Your credit stinks. I wouldn't say that, but that's when the adjustment rate, comes in.
How often do you see it?
Very seldom. Very seldom. And when I teach, I'm teaching the 80% stuff, not the 20%, so very seldom. Okay, and then here, adjustable rate loan amount at an initial interest rate. Now you put the interest rate in of 7, and it comes back at 7.5. Did you just give them a way to back out?
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't. Oh, I could probably type the whole word in here.
So you, that one you leave. Oh, that's what you write?
That doesn't fit. Didn't think so. Now, what does it say if left blank?
Prevailing.
Then prevailing, based on his credit worthiness. But I don't like to leave anything back, so I
Uh-huh.
put pure.
PRV.
What does that stand for?
Prevailing,
Right?
yeah, which it says afterwards, I just don't like blanks. So it does say if left blank, then prevailing rate based on buyer's credit worthiness, right? Your credit determines what your rate's gonna be,
So you always put PRV.
always.
And that's another way to make it ironclad.
Yes, it doesn't give them away, like if you told them 7% and theirs comes in at 10%, I don't want this, you told me 7. Like, no, I didn't. I said prevailing.
Question, for financing section, why would
We're writing an offer.
No.
To make it presentable to the seller.
Okay.
Right? So the stronger my offer, the less obstacles, better, but I do have to be truthful here. Now, there's no details in here. There's no promissory note. There's nothing in here. It's just, if you get an arm, you get an arm. Or you get an adjustable, you get an adjustable. I'm not defining anything else. So it's a very high level offer. Credit worthiness for a term of, my mouse. For a term of, and what's it say?
the left line?
So we're putting 30.
So I'm still kind of finances. So if I'm the buyer and I already have. Why am I?
Because this is the actual contract that we're gonna go by. And if you default on these things, you lose your deposit and the buyer walks, the seller.
So I know you put prevailing interest rate. Yeah, and then had break interest rate. So.
The lender can't give an interest rate on a pre-approval. Because they did, they lied, because they haven't done anything. The
Yeah.
underwriter hasn't even started, the processor hasn't dug into anything yet. It's a very high level and that's what we're presenting. Yeah, because it's the best of our ability to say these people are credit worthy and they close, but there's no other details in here. Yeah, and so that's why we're putting 30-year financing. If they pay it off in 15, I don't care.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, during the recession, when we were writing offers, this was so bad. We were writing offers and we were selling houses in 55+ communities with 50-year mortgages. Like, seriously? I don't care. It's just an awful thing to do. It's like almost predatory. It's almost predatory. It was awful,
So you can,
but we don't have those.
I,
Well, not, hey, I shouldn't say we don't right now. 'Cause
lenders sometimes they lucky customers with the percent, right? Type, so let's say if you give like, let's say 3 months, they lock percent.
They tried to.
Yeah, then between the time, make the offer. Get like 7%.
No, because we still haven't gone through underwriting and processing. So what if their credit score is 500? They might have locked them in, but their credit score is 500. Now what do we,
It is
does
not
that
locked.
change it?
So
Does
that's,
that
that's
not
now
locked
locked in.
change their rate
So that
completely?
means that locked in doesn't mean 100%.
It's locked in for that loan, for that product, but not for the person.
Oh,
Does that make sense? Like I can get pre-approved for a house and so my mortgage is 3% in 3%, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that is so awesome. You know what? I'm gonna keep this a pre-approval. I'm gonna give it to my sister. Can I do that?
Of course not.
No, because her credit worthiness is gonna be different than mine. So on the pre-approval, it's saying what the product is, but it hasn't taken my credit worthiness into that yet. So it's kind of halfway. So that's why we want to be very, very,
So
very.
the
Hi,
last
James.
Locked in is not really reliable thing, when you said.
It's locked in for the product.
Somebody's gonna say, I'm locked in at 5% and then let's.
That's nice, but we're not finished with you.
Not reliable.
We haven't really checked on you yet.
locked in, it's not locked at all.
The product is locked in, and then now we have to finish your side of the deal. Right? So if I see a commercial on TV that says you can buy this awesome car for $60,000. Great, and then when I get there, what happens? They check me up, they're like, oh, yeah, you ain't getting it for 60,000, because your credit's so bad. They still have to finish, like, it's this product and this person, and once we check this person, do they still qualify? Maybe not, I might have to change them into a different product afterwards to make it work, so it's not done, is what I'm saying, it's not done. That's what the 30-day approval period is all about. It's interesting. Okay, 30 years, buyer's mortgage broker, blah, 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 is gonna get an appraisal. Yeah, to make sure that the house is worth it. Buyer shall make application for financing. What am I putting in here?
5.
3 days?
What's it say?
Fine.
5.
Okay. Now, I fill in everything. I can always tell who's been to my class, because I have to laugh sometimes. I'm like, you didn't fill out anything. You haven't been to my class. But then I'll get contracts from people that were here and then left, like they went to a different company. I'm like, I don't get.
No.
I just don't like blanks on anything because someone could fill it in accurately. So I never have blanks. Yeah, I don't want anything ambiguous. Okay, so where are we now? Effective date on approval. See, so in this paragraph, line 102, buyer's failure to use good faith and diligent effort to obtain a loan approval during the loan approval period shall be considered a default under the terms of this contract. So if you said that they're going to apply for the loan in 5 days, you need to talk to the lender to make sure that they apply for it.
Right.
Otherwise, your buyer's in default. And they could lose the money that we put in earnest money. Now, you don't have to provide anything, you just need to know. Then it says, for purposes of this provision, diligent effort includes, but is not limited to, timely furnishing of all documents and information required by buyer's mortgage broker and lender, and paying for the appraisal and other fees and charges in connection with buyer's application for financing. Do not get in the way of the buyer and the lender. The buyer's going to tell you stories. I'm not saying they're liars, but they don't think you're talking to the lender. So I always talk to all both, and I tell them when we're writing the offer, look, there are 3 of us in this deal, me, and you, and the lender. And I'll be calling the lender to make sure that things are being done on your behalf. Now, a lot of times the buyer will say, oh, that lender's stupid. They keep losing my paperwork. They keep telling me to resend this.
Well, it's because the lender needs this information to put the package together. And the package is a bunch of stuff to show this investor that you're worth the 500,000. And a lot of times, like you'll send in like the processor will ask for 3 months of bank statements, 3 months of pay stubs. And so when they get the stuff and a week or 2 weeks goes by and it's another month, they'll ask the buyer for the current versions. And so then the buyer's like, well, I gave it to her 3 times. Well, they keep asking, you gotta do it. If you're asking me to lend you $500,000, I may ask you to stand on your head. You gotta do it. That's a lot of money. So don't procrastinate. Don't argue with them. Just give it to them as many times as they need it, but just make sure that they have what they need. Now, I'm the worst lender. I used our in-house mortgage broker 4 years ago when I bought a foreclosure, and I used that lender. And every morning at 9 o'clock, I'm standing in her doorway. Do you need anything? She's like, Flores, I'll come to you. I'm like, no. Do you need anything? Because every morning I'm like, whatever you need, I'm gonna give it to you. But I was in there every single morning. You're probably thinking you need to go someplace else to get your loan. Because they need stuff. They're putting a whole package together, and then they take that package and they give it to the investor. What's your first? Tinu. So I'm gonna put a whole package together. Tinu, is this worth 500,000 to you? Do you have everything you need to trust that you'll lend me that money? Because that's what I'm doing. I'm asking an investor to give me that money. And you're like, I don't know. Let me go through. But it used to be like all paper, so that's why we call it a package. We used to put the whole package together, and it was all paper, and it would go onto some desk, and it was about, it must have been like, we used to joke about how much it weighed. Like, the more it weighs, the better the package. We used to joke. Now it's all online. But if the package was missing one piece of paper, it would go to the bottom. That's how they process. And I'm like, okay, I can't have anything missing on this because there's a stack on this lady's desk this high.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it used to be. And it's the same now that you go to the bottom of the queue, it's just that you can't see it. So, which makes it even worse because sight unseen, when it's at the bottom, no one's gonna get to it. So that's why you gotta be so careful. All right, so buyer shall upon
One
written.
question, do you go to the same process with the buyer when you're construction?
You're asking somebody for a whole lot of money, it's the same. It's the exact same process.
But it's not the same if you're doing like investment, right?
Absolutely, it is. It's just how you have more money in it. Like, it wouldn't be 90-10 or 80-20, you probably need 40% down or 35% down. So you're borrowing less money and there's more equity.
When I say this property, think about like some of those that buy like.
Completely different, that's commercial. Completely different. That bank wants more, they want your firstborn. Yeah, they want more. Right? Because here's the problem with commercial loans. They're not bought, the loan is not given to an individual with a social security number. It's given to a corporation. And when a corporation fails, it can file bankruptcy like that. Which means the bank is left holding the bag. So they're even more careful. And the packages are twice the size.
And social media is like. A scam plan, way to explain it, they make it seem as if it's easy.
Nothing is easy.
No, it's so.
Not
The next day they'll
I'm gonna
take
come
off,
down,
like,
I can show you in 5 minutes, how I'm gonna get a building. No,
And then they want to sell you something like, here's how you do it, $1,000, and I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
You know where they're making their money? Off of your $1,000.
Yeah, it's pyramid schemes.
So here's an example I'll use. So for commercial, look at what happened to Trump because he overevaluated his assets. And how much is he owe?
250, 200, New York judge.
250 million. And she's gonna put a lien on his properties now. So it's even worse.
And he can't do business in New York.
Right, or his 2 sons. So it's even more work and more, I mean, he literally had to lie about the value of his properties. Yeah, so, be interesting. But commercial is completely different and there's more because
Because they can shut down, because he did, how many times has Trump filed bankruptcy? I mean, that's the,
5, 6 times.
that's what they do. That's what they do, instead of paying it back, they just file bankruptcy. Well, he writes them off, I mean, he has so many ways around it, because they're in everybody else's name.
Once they get it,
All right, kind of cool, good questions, great questions. So let's look at line 111. If within the loan approval period, buyer obtains a loan approval, buyer shall notify seller of the same in writing. Now, how does the buyer talk to the seller? Through the agents.
Yeah.
So it's your responsibility to make sure you get this from the buyer to provide to the other agent. Because it's agents talking, not the actual. So during the loan approval period, if the buyer is unable to obtain loan approval within Oh, okay. If the buyer is unable to obtain loan approval within loan approval period, but buyer is satisfied with buyer's ability to obtain loan approval and proceed to closing, buyer shall deliver written notice to seller confirming same prior to the expiration of the loan approval period. Let's say they didn't get approved. Let's say it was 50% financing and 50% cash. And he's like, I'm okay, let's just do it. I didn't get the approval, don't worry about it, let's go. Now, once he says, let's go, and the loan approval period is over, he could lose his money if we don't close. So he knows it. He's like, no, don't worry about it, I got this. And I'm like, okay, you can lose your, whatever we put down as down payment. No, it's okay. So they're saying that that could happen. If buyer is unable to obtain loan approval, I'm down. Come on. Anyway, if buyer is unable to obtain loan approval within the loan approval period or cannot timely meet the terms of loan approval, all after the exercise of good faith and diligent effort, buyer may terminate this contract by delivering written notice of termination to seller prior to expiration of the loan approval period. Whereupon, provided buyer is not under default for any other reason, buyer shall be refunded deposit, thereby releasing buyer and seller from all further obligations. So as long as during that loan approval, which we left at 30 days, as long as he notifies us, he goes, I can't do this. I don't want to do it. I can't get approved. As long as he tells us he can't get approved and he can't get the loan.
So the only time is if he can't get approved, it can't be like for a change.
No, it can't be a change my mind. No. And most agents will ask for a denial. If he doesn't like the terms, we're gonna have a problem. Because it doesn't say if you agree to the terms. So if he says, oh, I didn't think the payment was gonna be this high, oh, we're gonna have a problem. Because it's not like you got turned down. So your lender would have to turn you down. You can't turn your lender down. If buyer fails to deliver any written notice provided for above to the seller prior to the loan approval period, then, okay, so he didn't give us notice. There's no cancellation and I don't have an approval. But he didn't tell me anything and we're at the approval period, then buyer shall proceed forward with this contract as though above had been checked as of the effective date, provided however seller may elect to terminate this contract by delivering written notice within 3 days after expiration of loan approval. So what they're saying, let's say the loan approval was due today and my buyer didn't get a loan approval, but we didn't notify the other side. But the other side knows we didn't get the approval because we didn't provide it. The other side could cancel the contract within 3 days of loan approval date. He's got 3 days to cancel, but if he cancels, he gives the buyer back their deposit. If he doesn't, we're going to proceed as if we had loan approval. But from this point on, the earnest money is in jeopardy. Okay? and said, provided buyer is not in default, buyer shall be refunded the deposit. Okay. If buyer has timely provided either written notice provided and buyer thereafter fails to close the contract, the deposit shall be paid to the seller unless failure to close is due to seller's default or inability to meet other contingencies or property-related conditions of the loan approval, specifically excluding the appraisal. So the appraisal has to be done for them to get loan approval. But if there's other problems with the house that haven't been fixed, like the roof is missing, we can back it.
With our full deposit back.
Well, maybe. So next to section 8, this page right up here, like by this stuff over here, next to this 126, put C line. C line. 342. See line number 342. So over here, by line 126, the section here. Oh, this, anyway, if you see where my mouse is, 126. Because here it says that the money will go back to the seller. But you're gonna put in here C line 342, because there's something weird in here, 342.
Hmm.
Under deposit shall be paid to seller. Highlight this and then put C line 342. Because there's a little problem in here.
You'll split it.
Yeah. Little problem. Yeah, which we're not there yet.
Yeah. Look at 314.
Okay,
It's gonna start talking about it. Portion of laws that they proceed from fund functions.
don't go ahead because it's gonna, all this is plays into that. So don't go ahead yet. Just put C line 342. When we get there, it'll make sense, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in between that. So we had cash and financing, and then here's assumption of existing mortgage. So there are some assumables out there, very few, but if there was an assumable mortgage, you would use rider D, which is on the last page. And then if it's purchase money mortgage, mortgage to seller, seller financing, then you would use rider C. So you had cash, we had financing, we have assumption, and we have purchase money mortgage. It's riders on the last page. We're not there yet. But
Just spend on the other meetings. Cash, assumption.
Okay. Closing
Okay,
costs.
I mean, in that part, if
So-
I'm doing
These-
financing conventional, which one those do I choose?
Up to the second part. None of these are two different ones.
Okay, just leave the.
So A was cash, B was financing, that's conventional FHA and other.
Yeah.
C is assumption, and D is seller finance. And that's why they have riders there. Closing costs. Now, they have to be careful of closing costs because it's not part of the purchase price, it's on top of the purchase price. And you have to be very careful that you explain this to your buyers. If I've had buyers sitting in the office yelling at me, saying, my agent didn't tell me, and they don't. You had that happen?
Yeah, they did.
Yes, as a buyer. Yeah, so we had to be very diligent on this. These are the closing costs on top of the purchase price. This is typically 2%. So I explained to them there could be doc stamps, there could be title search fees, lien search. I explained all that. Notice FERPTA is in here, so there might be FERPTA stuff in there. HOA, estoppel fees, and other. We're on, if this was our listing, we would fill in this section, but we don't have the seller, we have the buyer. So we're gonna go to things that are paid for by the buyer, taxes, reporting fees, owner's policy for the title insurance owner's policy, we need one for the bank, survey could be on there on the buy side. Lender's title, HOA, condo fees, loan expense, appraisal is of course extra, everyone knows. So that's on top of the purchase price, and this is your section, other. This is where our $4.95 transaction fee is.
Oh,
What is FERPA?
And for investors.
No,
has to do with international tax, buyer's tax.
yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah.
So, FERPA is Foreign Investment Real Property Tax Act. So taxes is IRS charges, non-Americans, people without papers, sounds like a dog. People without papers have to pay fees to IRS because they don't file taxes. So that's what FERPA is. We're not allowed to explain it, have to talk to a tax person.
So our $4.95, we made up a fancy name for it, KW Regulatory
Compliance fee of $4.95, that's our transaction.
And that's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
your money, you can negotiate it.
It's added to your commission, you can negotiate it all you want. But don't.
So that's $4.95 cover what?
Oh, you mean like, it's commission, but if I was talking to the
To
buyer,
the buyer, because they're gonna
Oh.
ask, oh, what I'm paying, that's $4.95.
so it's a regulatory compliance fee.
And what
What
it?
did that mean?
Like a dealership.
Yeah, because
I
I
don't
know,
think-
like,
Right,
they're
oh
gonna
my
ask me
God.
that
Fancy
question.
name, I know, it's a
Yeah.
Okay, so let me,
Should be-
I'll make up a story. So a
Okay.
regulatory compliance fee. So by law, we have to hold on to your paperwork for 7 years for IRS. If you ever need anything, we have it stored. And you could also get audited, like we could get audited, so by FREC, so we have to hold on to 5 years. So maximum is 5 years, 7 years. So we will hold on to anything that you sign, anything that you've signed is stored in command for 7 years. So if you ever need those things, let's say you're getting audited or getting sued or something like that, all those documents are stored. And so the storage fee, going back to get it, researching and doing everything else is our regulatory compliance. Doesn't that sound really interesting?
It's very convincing.
No, it is true though, because we're storing it in DocuSign. If someone came, let's say you left the business and someone came in here and said, I need my settlement document 4 years ago, we have it. We have everything. If you put it in there, we have it. Now, the one thing that, and anything that's signed, right? Because you submit everything for compliance, I'm checking everything. But I can only check what you put in there. So you put as much stuff in there as you want. There's 2 sections. There's a section for what's mandatory and what needs to be signed. And there's a section for any miscellaneous docs like an inspection report or the survey. Put all those things in there, then you never have to worry about it. Because it's in there forever.
I think it's not only you guys do that, all the companies.
Everybody does it, but we have the best explanation.
That's that person here. But it's also the,
It's true.
yeah,
It's not fake. It's true. We are saving it. We are holding on to it. But mainly it's because the broker is afraid to go to jail. Mainly.
$4.95 is also the cost to for a transaction.
I think she's $3.99. $3.99, 400, $3.99. Yeah, so it kind of pays for it, right?
So you only do that with the buyer, but if.
No, you do with the seller too, but we are writing a buyer's offer, right?
Okay, so
If you have a
what,
seller, you put it in there.
I put it in the
On
top.
the
Yeah.
other.
And if you have both, make sure you charge both, because how do you explain to one that you didn't charge the other?
So, but you charge one.
No, I charge them both. There's one there, there's one here. $1,000, are
Oh,
you?
you charge, to both seller and buyer at the same time.
Of course,
If you're representing,
If you're representing.
yeah, 2 different customers.
Yeah.
2 different,
it's 2 sides.
2 sides.
Yeah, I put it, if they're both on, if I have the seller and the buyer, I'm charging both of you.
Yeah.
Why not?
It was special treatment.
No, I'll probably charge more because I'm doing twice as much. Probably charge more. Okay, but if we get to closing and someone's $100 or $200 or $300 short, Am I okay? I'm okay with it, because that was
You're not-
extra money anyway.
Yeah.
I make them think I'm hurting, but yeah. But it's nice to have that little cushion. And, you know, you really do earn it, and more so in the future when all this stuff in July happens. You better be adding thousands on here, you may not get paid.
You talking about that, settlement?
Are we gonna talk about that tomorrow?
Absolutely, yeah. I've been talking about it for 4 days, so
Um,
yeah.
This has to do with. the-
I actually read it last night. I'm like, this is 105 pages. Just a-
Look,
You know, we don't-
Just a quick question on it,
Like.
like, does it have an adverse effect on your agents?
Yeah,
Say that again.
Does the settlement have an
I-
adverse effect on your agents?
It's the same for everybody.
we're all the same.
But affects
It's
by.
actually gonna be easier for you because you're learning everything from now instead of having to redo what you used to do in the past. So it's probably easier.
So I was watching the. Okay, yeah,
I'm gonna
the
stop this.
TikTok.
Hold on,
I was
let me
TikTok watching.
stop this so I can,